You're listening to the Neil Bortz Show, and this is Herman Cain. Some people say that we ought to audit the Federal Reserve. Here's what I do know. The Federal Reserve already has so many internal audits, it's ridiculous. I don't know why people think we're going to learn this great amount of information by auditing the Federal Reserve. There's no hidden secrets going on in the Federal Reserve to my knowledge. And I tell people, we've got 12 Federal Reserve banks. You find out which district you're in, call them up and go from there. We don't need to waste money with another commission or an audit that's not necessary. I am thankful to Representative Ron Paul for his consistent and steady pressure on the Federal Reserve. And as chairman of the Subcommittee on Domestic Monetary Policy, he will have the oversight of the activities of the Federal Reserve, including the ability to require an audit of the Federal Reserve Bank. Congressional oversight, and not more commissions appointed by the president, will bring more accountability to the Federal Reserve on behalf of the American people.
Ron Paul, who just think that the Federal Reserve is just evil from the devil or something.
But he doesn't say what you replace it with.
Yeah.
This is what the people who want to get rid of the Federal Reserve don't talk about.
The dollar as the world's reserve currency is being challenged, and now there are questions about its future even inside the United States. Congressman Ron Paul has introduced an act to legalize competing currencies like gold and silver to circulate next to the greenback.
In the United States, hundreds of communities that are beginning to print their own local currencies. It's a massive movement. Of course, it's not only in the United States, it's happening in other countries as well.
All kinds of money are popping up across mid-Michigan, and supporters say it's not counterfeit, but rather competing currency. NBC 25's Dan Armstrong investigates.
They sound like real money and look like real money, but you can't take them to the bank. That's because they're not made at a government mint, but rather private mints.
I sell at least 3 or 4 every single day, and then I get one or two back a week.
Dave Gilley, owner of Gilley's Coney Island restaurant in Genesee County's Genesee Township, also accepts silver, gold, copper, and other precious metals to pay for food. He says if he wanted to, he could accept marbles.
Do people have to accept dollars or money? No, they don't. They can accept anything they want, or they can refuse to accept them.
He's absolutely right. The U.S. Treasury Department says the Coinage Act of 1965 says private businesses are free to develop their own policies on whether or not to accept cash unless there is a state law which says otherwise. That allows gas stations to say they don't accept $50 or $100 bills after a certain time of day in hopes of not getting robbed. A chiropractic office in Lapeer County's Deerfield Township allows creativity when it comes to payment.
This establishment accepts any form of silver, gold, chicken, apple pie. You know, if someone works it out with me, I've taken many things.
Jeff Kachunian says he used this Ron Paul half-troy ounce of silver to get $25 worth of gas from a local station. While the government and banks don't accept them, many others do. Dan Armstrong, NBC 25 News.
All right, Dan, and coming
Favor of closing the Federal Reserve down in one day or two. But I do believe the monetary system will close down this government and the monetary system and the Federal Reserve and a lot of other things if we continue on our profligate ways of spending and borrowing and inflating the currency and regulating the currency. And this will get much worse until we have a total collapse of the system. So my bill, what it does is it introduces competition in currencies. The Federal Reserve System and the dollar standard is run by a cartel, a monopoly. They don't allow competition because they know they can't compete. Just as we have competition in the post office with FedEx and UPS, I think that the Federal Reserve deserves a little competition. The public school system has competitions with private schools and has competition with homeschooling. And there's no reason in the world that we can't enforce the Constitution, legalize the Constitution, and say that we can have competition in currencies. But there are three major things that we must do to do that. And the bill does this. We repeal legal tender laws and remove the monopoly control of the Federal Reserve. We legalize private mints so that mints can mint coins, and they will be controlled by fraud laws and anti-counterfeit laws. Today, our government commits fraud and counterfeit by just printing money at will. If a private organization did that, they would be in prison for the fraud that they are causing. But the other important reform that would have to occur for money to circulate and compete against the monopoly control of the Federal Reserve would be to take taxes off money. And the Constitution said only gold and silver can be money. And only that can be legal tender. So you can't tax it and allow it to be competitive. So these three things could occur. And if nobody wanted to use it, they wouldn't have to, and everybody could be happy with the Federal Reserve. But if the conditions get so chaotic and the people are looking for an alternative, they can go over and start operating in another currency. So this, to me, could provide a smooth transition. It would not be chaotic. It would be legalizing the Constitution. It would be good, sound economics. And eventually, the most important thing it would do, it would restrain the spending of this Congress. Because as long as you have a Federal Reserve over there willing to print up the money, anytime we spend more money that we don't have and we can't borrow, then the Federal Reserve will accommodate us. Therefore, I argue the case for competition in currencies.